Hi, good afternoon. My name is Diego Castro, and I will be presenting my video for my subculture topic, and that is trans issues in America. And yeah, we're gonna start with a brief history of trans issues and go into statistics and legislation against trans people and the case study. Thank you all for listening, and I appreciate it. So I'm going to start with our quick introduction to trans topics. Transgender topics came to light. They first came to light in the United States and during the 1950s. A trans woman, Christine Jorgensen, she was born in New York City. During the 1920s. At a very young age, felt like she did not fit in, did not belong in the body she belonged in, was wearing her sister's clothes. So at a very young age, she had feelings of not being in the right gender. After she graduated high school, she served in the military for a little bit. And after the military, she went abroad. She went abroad to Denmark. And in Denmark, she was just looking for the medical attention that she was not receiving in the U.S. And she found this doctor, Dr. Christian Hamburg. And Dr. Christian Hamburg basically just provided her with a higher dose of female hormones and essentially underwent a gender reassignment surgery and removed her testicles and penis. The story blows up when Christine Jorgensen goes back to the U.S. after she's recovered from her surgeries, and she just became a media frenzy. All the major newspaper and articles were releasing her story and were publicizing her medical procedures. So she became, like I said before, a media frenzy where everyone hadn't seen anything like this before, here in the United States at least. And the headlines were reading, "Ex-GI becomes blonde bombshell." And part of that was because she had served in the military, and that would seem, at the time, that was seen as just a sign of respect, a sign of honor. Jorgensen wasn't the first person to receive a gender reassignment surgery, but she was the first person to create such a widespread public issue in the United States during the 1950s. In the years after Jorgensen's story was published, a series of riots and protests took place all around the United States. Cities like San Francisco and New York City became a hotspot for these riots and these protests, just for basically fighting for social change for these trans folks. During the 1980s and 90s, the AIDS epidemic swept through the United States, and unfortunately many trans folks were affected because they were sharing needles for hormones and had to do sex work and prostitution as a means of survival. Now we're gonna get into stats, into just transgender stats. There's currently 1.4 million people in the United States identify as transgender. That's roughly 0.6% of the population. From that population, by around age 20, 94% of responders already felt like they had been in the wrong body, felt like there wasn't them. There had been an increase in gender-conforming surgery, about 25%, and most of these people who received the surgery were transgender females were getting it more than transgender males. A common issue for trans folks and a common issue for many transgender people, especially transgender people of color and the Latino community, is the lack of medical insurance. And this could be from not finding a surgeon who accepts your medical insurance, or not not being able to cover the other expenses not covered by health insurance. Just a lack of money overall, and it just shows that the insurance system here in the United States is not built for everyone. Only specific people can benefit from the medical insurance here in the United States. The next topic I want to get in is discrimination against trans people. In 2015, there was a grand survey for transgender people. 28,000 trans individuals were surveyed, and in that survey, 46% of trans folks had been verbally harassed, and 40% of the respondents had attempted suicide, 9 times the rate of the U.S. population. 42% of Black respondents had experienced homelessness at one point in their life, compared to the 30% in the overall sample, which means that POC, people of color, transgender people are more affected and have received more of a burden than compared to white trans folks. And this is usually the case with most issues where Black people and Latin people, just minorities, are treated way worse than any other group in the United States. My next topic would be legislation against trans issues. In 2016, North Carolina Governor Pat McCrory passed the Public Facilities Privacy and Securities Act, which basically states that you can only go to the bathroom in the gender that you were assigned at birth. So if you were assigned male and you feel female, you could only go to the male bathroom, which is a complete disgrace for trans folks, and a complete disgrace for the LGBTQ community in general. Additionally, the Pentagon lifted the ban on transgender people serving in the military in June 30th of 2016. A year later, the summer after, July of 2017, Donald Trump tweeted that transgender people were basically not allowed to serve in the military. And this stems from when the Americans are paying for taxes, a percentage of that goes to the military budget. As you know, the military budget of the United States is the biggest chunk of the U.S. budget goes to the military. And we can argue if that's right or wrong, but part of that money was used to fund transgender people who hadn't undergone a gender reassignment surgery or surgery for cosmetic surgery, basically. And in my defense, I don't know why they thought it was okay to just remove all transgender people from serving, period, when there could have been a bill or revised legislation that would still allow them to serve, but will not, wouldn't cover all the medical costs that are associated. If that was the problem, if that was the true reason why they did not allow for these trans folks to serve. And then the last thing I want to be talking about is my case study, which is Laverne Cox. Laverne Cox is a transgender female, and she's most known for her role in Orange is the New Black. She was on the cover of Times magazine in 2014, which I remember it being monumental. Like, I remember that being like, whoa, like, this is crazy. And she firstly explains how when people are talking about trans issues, they most always go to the topic of medical issues and surgeries and hormones. And she was explaining how that basically objectifies trans women or trans men. And that's not something that people should start off the conversation with. Laverne capitalizes on self-love and self-worth. How are you going to love someone else if you can't love yourself first? She struggled a long time with men only seeing her as an object. And she realized her self-worth and her self-love, and she realized that people are going to love her for who she is, not for what she can offer. And this was just a recap of my subculture. I'm so happy to have done this. Thank you so much for everything. Might have gone a little over time. I'm sorry, but everything is chilling. I just wanted to get everything inside. Thank you.